Good afternoon, everybody. This is your iSight Community Podcast for the week of April 28th, 2023. I am your host, Gabriel Bruce, and today we have a special guest with us on today, a friend of mine. I'm going to let him introduce himself and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Gabriel. Hey, everybody. My name is Darien Tucker. Me and Gabriel, we're partners. We're both community activists. And I look forward to giving y'all a great show tonight.
So how's it going, man?
Everything is going well. Everything is splendid. I want to just thank God, for allowing me to be up on this morning.
I hear you, man. Long time.
This afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon, long time. We back on the air again.
Yes, sir.
We doing this, and we heard you recently got married.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did.
So how's that?
The Tucker family.
Okay, nothing wrong with expanding the family. So how's it being married?
It's
What the married
great.
life like?
It's great. I'm not saying any of the things that people were saying I was going to see yet.
It never happened like that,
But I'm expecting, for it to be a great marriage. It's already a great marriage. When challenges times come in, I'm gonna just deal with them accordingly, with God being present.
You know what I'm talking about. So we met a couple of years ago. Had a very interesting story. We met through a young lady by the name of Tia Patterson. Reached out to me, and she said she had a young guy that was community driven and wanted to be involved in the community. And I was like, oh, okay. And she asked me, was I still involved in the community? And I said, not really, but I do a little bit. And then she said, well, he's visually impaired and he has a story, and that interests me. And I'm like, okay, I want to get to know the brother. And I told her, well, send me your phone number. And she sent me your phone number. And I called you, and we talked, and we linked up and everything. And I just feel that it's time for the world to hear your story because you have a very interesting story. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so how I became who I am today. It was a result of a lot of turbulent events at the age of 16 years old. So around the age of 16, I was trying to find my place and within my peer group, which led me to kind of be influenced by negativity and the trends that you hear in the music I heard in the music at that time. Some of those rappers are still around, but they influenced me the wrong way though. So that led me to doing like acts based off the energy that they was putting into my mind through the music. Um, and then that led to me going to jail. Now in jail, I continued that negativity, um, but I thought it would be a whole lot, similar to what the energy was getting me. That me pushing that energy on the streets gave me. However, that did not turn out that way. I got into multiple fights, one on ones, and then I also got jumped by crowds of individuals, which led overall, overall to me losing my vision. And that is like that life and death situation where them revelations start coming out your mind, epiphanies. You started questioning God, like, what's my purpose? You got my attention now, God. Jesus rather, because that's what how I was taught in church. To call out to Jesus when things go wrong. So, got on my knees, prayed to Jesus, asked him for assistance, help. I don't know who else to go to. I heard a lot about him. So a couple days after, you know, after that prayer, I just started getting these internal signs and messages that that the people that was coming to me was angels of God, but utilizing the man vessel. So there was this elderly guy that came to me and gave me one of them hand Bibles. I believe it's the Gibeon, the Burgundy one,
Hmm.
and I began to read it. Nothing stood out to me, Kevin.
You still
No,
outside at this time, right?
I still got a little bit of sight, but my vision is now deteriorating at this point.
Okay. Okay.
So I understood nothing within those texts except for one piece, and that was in Proverbs chapter 1 or 2. It's you might know where it falls. It was saying that when sinners entice thee, consent thou not.
Hmm.
You know, so that was the only verse that stood out to me, and that
Okay.
was telling me in my present situation to stay away from the energy that got me into jail. And so that was my first that was me getting a hold of that word of God and investing myself into it. That was the first activist work that God gave to me. Because now that I knew this truth and I knew it was true, and when I applied it and it gave the results that the word said it was gonna give, it started me on a journey to activism. Like I feel like evangelism and the activism and trying to shed light to the community about things that they don't know is the one and the same. So that but fast forward, 'cause I don't want to make it long. Fast forward from 17 when I started to losing my vision all the way to 21. God had did a tremendous work on my life, which I wouldn't say that was the cause of me getting out of prison. I would say the cause of me getting out of prison was, yeah, it would, yeah. See, it really double standard. You could say it was COVID, but at the same time, God, brings those things, allows those things to come upon the world in order to make change. So I was 21 years old in Central State Prison up in Macon, Georgia, where I was in chaplain services and I developed a relationship with the chaplain assistants and the chaplain herself, which within the pandemic they handpicked certain people to come up and pray for revival. So I was in that revival prayer session, and it was everybody was praying that everybody come to the knowledge of the Spirit, knowledge of God. It was one guy that came up who was locked up for 30 years and said that he had been locked up and been serving God and know the Spirit, but he does not know why God hasn't let him through the gates yet out of
Okay.
prison.
Right.
So he said, I want everybody in here to pray in faith. I want everyone to be in sync, not the faith that that you will receive commonly, through someone's words that's just cliche, but I'm talking about the true faith that's listed out in the scriptures. And everybody just read that verse within the Bible about faith and what it actually meant from God's perspective. And we all started praying, for a release of inmates, and then next thing you know, 2 days, 3 days later, everybody started receiving parole papers. Now that's unusual.
Hmm.
And it's also unusual for people to get sized up too. And I end up falling within that. Now I said to myself, I said, man, I don't seen other people, get parole papers and then get released. So what I did with my parole papers, I just folded it up and slid it up under my bed and paid no attention to it. Go about my day, studying GEDs, and then come back and studying the Bible, going to go to church. But that ain't what God had for none of us who He gave those papers to. It was indeed that prayer that we all prayed in faith. And once all that happened, I seen multiple works that God did after applying His word. I've been on this activist journey since my release.
So you talked about being in Central State prison in Macon. So as a young person in prison, and right now we have a lot of um, activities going on, not only in our city but in other places and everything. Because a lot of time people can think that jail is a certain type of way. Describe jail when you first got there, prison when you first got there, and then describe it after you became visually impaired inside.
Okay, when I first got there, they went by my charges to know where to place me.
Okay.
I had gang charges that was
Okay.
specifically uh well, they would label it as a blood gang, which you that's not the the correct way to do it because you got multiple sets of blood gangs. So
Correct.
you know, I didn't fall within the blood gang. It was a different gang, and they ended up putting me in. The judge kind of it gave me a court date to go through that preliminary hearing, and they gave me the the uniform, the top and the bottom. They checked me, they moved my shoes and checked my feet, so forth, so
All
on,
right.
to make sure I ain't gonna bring in any contraband. Then they went off of the charges of the gang charges and placed me in the dorm with Bloods. Um, and once I got in there, I was like, they weighed me too. I was like 119 pounds, um, and 17 years old. They put me in a room by myself, but later on, another individual came in there with me. Um, the 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 floors and the walls, all of it looked unsanitary. Some people were sleeping in on the floor, so I was grateful to get a bunk. So I didn't receive any orientation on how to use the kiosk box. I can imagine how it would have been if I was blind going in there.
Right.
You know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have any like nutrition, hygiene. My hygiene was bad too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
At the age of 17 years old.
Right.
So I was on the kiosk. I had a little money on me when I got arrested. So they put that on my books. But I was going straight for food. I was hungry,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was on the kiosk, a guy came up and deleted everything that I had ordered because he said, "No, young blood, you must get hygiene first."
That's what he said.
Yep, he deleted everything and he put the deodorant on there, toothbrush, socks, t-shirt, and I thank him for that because that was the correct way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, after a while being in there a few days, I started sensing evil energy. Man, people started coming in my room without my permission, talking to me like they were my friends, but then talk crazy, and then I would talk crazy. Resulted in me, getting jumped, and then after that, they removed me from that dorm, and put me in protected custody, which I refused. So after a couple of days being in there, every time the officers came by and I was telling them to take me up out of there, I was removed out of there, and then I was placed in another dorm where everyone in there I knew. But long story short, moving forward again, in that dorm I was not safe. I wasn't safe in any dorm. For some reason, you know, something always resulted in a fight or somebody getting jumped, and then 1 out of 10 people, you might be that one that goes through that.
Okay.
And by you being in the gang, it makes it even worse. So
Right.
that me being in the gang was the ultimate cause of me losing my vision. And once I lost my vision, everything became inaccessible, Cable.
It
I
did.
didn't I didn't know how to use the remote. I couldn't play cards anymore. I didn't I couldn't go get my trade like I used to could go get my trade anymore because I lacked education and mobility and orientation.
Was it in the sympathy?
There was sympathy, but then you got my peer group in there where they
Right.
they're sympathy first, but then after that they want to joke and play. Yo, remember you did this? Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
It was all that, and I got tired of that. In my internal mind, to give you a perspective on that, I,
Hmm.
I didn't want to deal with nobody anymore either because it was they would be too playful.
Right.
And it was this I haven't gone through blindness before, but they didn't understand that. So you know,
So a lot of the stories we heard when that we hear when we do interviews is used about people losing their sight at different points in their life, but majority of them be at home. But you in prison at this time. It's all you already at a disadvantage being in there yourself, and then you lose your sight. What did that take your mental capacity at that point?
yeah, what my mind was, it was in utter darkness. I didn't have there was no there was no logic that I could grab hold of. There was no direction given to me from someone that might have experienced it because those people weren't around in that setting. So my mind was just like, what am I gonna do? Anytime anyone would come to my door, I'm like, what's going on? I gotta depend on them. I had to depend on everything outside of myself. I did because prior to that, I didn't develop a relationship with God, so I definitely wasn't getting any direction until I kind of remember the words of wisdom from my elders. But that was a little minute though.
It took a while for that to process.
Yeah, it took like 1 month or 2 months after I had started losing my vision.
So I know that you're an advocate for blind individuals who are in jail right now.
Yes, sir.
Describe some of the accessibilities that are lacking in prison for people with not only challenges but visual challenges
Yes,
when you
and
was in there.
yes, sir. And I've been voicing it ever since you know, had been released. It first started in the at large chapter. Uh,
Hmm.
when I asked at large chapter to pray for those that are blind in prison, that they get the resources and stuff that they needed. And then I started pondering on that and was thinking that I might be that person that supposed to create those resources because I've been through that system and I know exactly what they need. So I've been trying to find a comfortable space with a team of people that could help me, get those resources. And iSight community is one of them, and
Right.
Maya Patillo, she's one of them, and this YHDP community is one of them as well. So I'm just trying to continue to stay in these spaces so I can get closer and closer to that goal.
So for the people who are out here listening and may want to, know what would be some of the accommodation or accessibility that they may need, can you highlight some of those for the people?
All right, for one right now, this I'm focused on Central State Prison too, but
Okay, because
I
that's where
want
you were.
yeah, I want because that's where I want to start there. I know more about Central State. That Central State might not know about. Recently, I just called up there because my brother is now there,
Oh, okay.
and the staffing that's there is not responsive. The warden is not. The head warden is not responsive. The warden of deputy care treatment is not responsive. The the chief counselor that deals directly with the inmates are not responsive. And when I'm saying not responsive, I'm meaning that when you call up there, you can't get a hold of no one but the officer that's at the front desk that does not know anything about uh, the inmates and what's going on in those departments. So, and this is not just in a day. You can call over a week and still not get a hold of anyone. So I say to myself, that's if someone out there in the audience that knows how to get rid of this issue, that's a piece that is needed and necessary right now. I looked up the board of commissioners and try to find out which district making it. I still got to figure that out. So the commissioner, who is the head of the warden and everybody that works in there, could know about this problem that's going on with the staff being non-responsive. Because the reason why I want them to be responsive, Cairo, is because
Mm-hmm.
they got an 88 coordinator in there that I have to tap into, and because it's not the same 88 coordinator that was there when I was there. I'm trying to get a hold of them and make sure they're see what they're doing with the blind inmates in there, and then come over back over here with the YHD community space and see what I can put into a plan for the youth that's in that space so they can get those resources while they in there and while they exiting out of there. So I would ask those that are able to help out with this issue to reach out to Gabriel and get him to reach out to me, and we can probably put together a conference call and see what resources and networks of people we can pull from to get closer to that goal. I wouldn't say goal, I would say action step because that's the goal. That's the action step that's gonna get us closer to the goal.
We know it's some things they need in there. Did you have a cane when you? What about how they reading their mail? Scanners needed.
That's why I want to get a hold of the 88 coordinator because I can't say what they got right now. I know what they
Right.
had when I was there, but
So what was what they had when you was there?
when I what
Just to
they
give
had,
them to something to refer to.
okay, they had canes,
Okay.
you know, and they had talking watches.
Okay.
They had talking Bible readers, and they had the talking book machines.
Okay.
I'm glad you had that question. Now, can I go
Sh-
through what they didn't have?
sure. Hey.
All right, so they had canes, but they didn't have the knowledge on how tall the cane should be
Right, because
based on the
different
person.
your height
Yeah,
determines the length of your cane.
yeah, and they condition like if they had something wrong,
Right.
yeah, they legs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have. Okay, what I said with Taco Watchable. Okay, they didn't have O&M instruction, the way they can be trained how to use their cane and mobilize and get to all the different programs on that site, that prison site. They didn't have. They need basic blind counseling too.
Okay.
Like how we got like knowledge on how to
Right.
build a sighted community.
Correct.
They didn't have that. They need that. Not only for the blind either, but for the sighted too. If they can,
Right. Need to
they
be
can
some form of education to educate them on, because it's a change for them also.
right. And then with that reentry part, that's this the program that you go through before you get out of prison. They need to have they need to have this in jail too. They need to have a list of resources, not only the state agency and departments, but a holistic list of resources um, that the blind person can benefit from.
So we know that you can at the end of the program you can get your contact information, and we'll try to connect you with all the resources that we have, so we can make sure that it's some individuals who need that type of help.
Right, right. So yeah, so I can call iSight community, and connect with y'all, so I can have something to connect to exiting out of the system instead of just immediately depending on my family, you know, while they got work and all that stuff and going to school.
So we know you advocate for those in prison, but also what venture you're on now when it comes to your advocacy?
Okay, the venture I'm on now is the youth homelessness demonstration program that's funded by HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Agency. So HUD has funded a multiple YSDP communities that has youth between the ages of 18 and 25 years old that have experienced homelessness or are at risk of experiencing homelessness. And what that space does is they pull the whole community from all five regions that HUD have identified. We fall in Region 3, Cable. Troup County, Marijuana County, uh, and all the other surrounding counties. I think it's about like 10 to 15 of them. And so we pull from the nonprofit agencies, we pull from the government agencies to determine what where they can contribute to capturing you for reporting that they're homeless, or reporting factors that indicate that they're at risk of homelessness. And this would connect with the goal that I have in helping out the blind that's in the prison system. You have blind people that's in there between the ages of 18 and 25, and then 25 to 30 that they classify as young adults. Um, that's a different bracket, 25 to 30, that might be exiting out of the system and not having any access to employment, access to education, access to permanent connections. Um, so if they don't like where they would place, they can go somewhere else, um, or access to housing. So this is the YSDP community, is the space that I'm working the most at right now to try to create some resources for the blind that's in prison.
So out of all the advocacy work you do, and I just ask, like I ask everybody, what did Darien do for himself when he unwind and he sit back and take some time out and just take a breather? You got any hobbies or anything you do for yourself to get yourself in a space where you are just relaxed and comfortable?
Yeah, I got hobbies. Um, One hobby would be like me actually creating music from scratch
Okay.
and just like putting together sounds. Now it's artificially, but I'm learning how to play the piano and learn all the
Mm-hmm.
details of it. Um, but that brings like a soothing relief after a hard week of work. Another thing I do is I read audiobooks, and I watch movies.
Oh, okay.
And on Sundays, everybody knows who watch Civilized Eye. I be
Okay.
going to my grandma's house, and
Mhm.
then being amongst the family.
So speaking of Civilized Eye podcast, tell us about that.
Yeah, Civilized Eyes podcast. It originally started uh, with me and Cabral, and we wanted this space to center around like focusing on the misconceptions that people have about blindness and trying to figure out how to create solutions to counter and prevent those misconceptions. So people have like a clear understanding on the capabilities that of the blind.
So, what are some of those misconceptions that you have encountered?
Some of a lot of man, it's a lot of them, man. It's new and developing every day.
Give the
So
crowd a couple of them
I,
for the fun of it.
so you got misconception. For anybody that don't know what that is
Mhm.
it means the wrong idea.
Okay.
It's not true. It's a myth. Myths out there about blindness that blind people can't do anything. Can't cook food for themselves. You know,
Okay.
they can't they can't travel 2 miles to 0.2 miles. They can't go pull their mail out the mailbox, put trash bags in the trash can. They can't they can't they can't understand concepts. And in order for you to try to attempt, that may, in order for try to get a, when you attempt to try to get a concept over to the blind, you got to talk loud.
So you ever been somewhere where they come up and they just screaming on 10 and
Yeah,
you like I can hear, or
yeah,
one
you
of the
got to.
misperceptions that you deaf and blind because they'll walk up and talk to the next person beside you and tell
Right,
them stuff about you, and when you sitting right there.
right. There I experienced that, and then like when it's a lot of them, man. It's a lot of them, and
Yeah.
we gotta bring them down. I don't, and we gotta. I feel like we need to do it with the adults,
Hmm.
but I feel like we need to hone in more so on the youth though,
Okay.
the ones the generation that's coming up,
Okay.
because their minds are fresh, their minds are adolescent, and they're able to receive information more openly than the adults who already done, set their minds already. I feel like it takes more strength and more effort. But I'm not saying to put it off. I'm saying that it will be more effective with the youth though.
Yeah,
And
because
I,
we
I
know.
got some ideas, but
Hmm.
I want
Yeah.
to take time with myself. I I done been in spaces where I overwork myself sometimes.
Right. And we know we on each and every Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 on Clubhouse, we get in and we have those discussions. And sometimes in the afternoons at 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have those same discussions about how can we educate the society and also educate each other because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
time
oh
we a
yeah,
lot I have learned a lot from other vision impaired people, the way they think, the way they feel. That's what these conversations are about, so we can teach one person who can teach another, kind of like y'all motto on your podcast: tell a friend, who gossip about a friend, who know a friend, somebody girlfriend. How y'all?
yeah. And this is another thing I came across.
Right.
Being in the community,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I feel like the iSight community it is a space where the youth can come and
Mm-hmm.
get that education. And what I see is sometimes us activists that are in the community, everybody is passionate about what they do. They want to
Right.
create something around that passion. But
Right.
I feel like we do need to work as a team, and if there's a space that's already uh, targeting that mission,
Right.
we need to direct people over there. We
Okay.
need
So
to, if people are, if a space over here is targeting this mission, we need to direct people over there. But we need to have something around that too, because a lot of people do miss that though, and start creating duplicates of things that's already out there in the community.
Yeah, and we make sure that we tell everybody to like, share, subscribe to y'all podcast, and also to our podcast, so we can attack this from all
Yeah,
different
yeah.
angles. Because a lot, like I said, we learn from each other. A lot of times, just having an open conversation with each other brings out a lot of known facts that we didn't even know that we
Right,
can build off of, and a lot of times, and I tell the community, the eyesight community, we need to learn each other first before we can go out and tell other people about
right,
us.
right,
So we gotta determine what we like, what we don't like. So how can we tell a group of people how to do things that we don't even know ourselves?
right,
So
right, right,
so that's why we get together as a collective and like talk amongst ourselves to bring the knowledge to each other that this is what work, and we share apps. And somebody may be say get be my eyes, and somebody may say, well, seeing AI, or these different readers and things like that. Learn about voiceover and all that, and those are key
mm-hmm.
things. And it's vision impaired people who would never order the Uber, who have got onto the community now and know how to Uber, or know how to Lyft or DoorDash, and it's
And,
helping gain more independence.
yeah.
And not having to be independent with themselves. So before we go, what would the 20+ year old Darien now go back and say to the young Darians out there now who growing up the way you grew up and following that same path that you was on? What would you say to them right now that would be effective?
Yeah, I would say to myself back then, and those that are in that same maybe in that same circumstance, is to don't fret, don't be irritated, be patient, and know that someone been through that, what you're going through, uh, just like you're going through it now, and just seek out that person or that group of persons that have gone through what you're going through to try to get a foundation of what you're dealing with before you try to make a conclusion yourself. Trying to say God, hates you, which ain't even true. You know, that what I would say, and never stop searching.
All right, man. Shout y'all out. Plug your stuff.
Oh
So they,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Make sure y'all go on YouTube and then go search up Civilized Eyes podcast, just like how you think it might be spelled. Subscribe to it, like it. Go through some. Don't just look at the last video we put up there. Go through some old videos, the one down at the bottom. When it was first started, and just work your way up. And then go over and to the Facebook page, Civilized Eyes Podcast again, and connect with that space. And don't forget to reach out to K Room and see how you can get involved with all these issues that I just put out there.
All right. So y'all go on their page, iSight. Y'all go on Civilized Eyes Facebook, run it up. Go to their YouTube, run the numbers up. Like, share, subscribe. They had just hit 100 subscribers. That's their milestone, and we want to get those numbers up for them. Go watch those videos and apply some of the things. And if like us on Facebook, that's at iSight Community. We're on Facebook where we have our polls and our questions of the day. Like today, the question is gonna be, what habits do blind people have you have noticed? So I asked you that question. Do you have a habit as a blind person that people can notice?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Utilizing that cane. The traveler came, you know.
Well, some of them said this morning that they rock, like blind people rock.
Oh,
You know,
you
just rocking.
somebody like rocking, like standing
Yeah,
up.
like sitting out there rocking or
Oh,
rubbing their hands or some
that
people.
sound like Ray Charles, man. Walking like a penguin. Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's a habit they said I had. You know, I was walking, but
we
I
walk.
worked on that though. That
Yeah.
disappeared. I don't dare do
Mm-hmm. Man,
that.
my mom used to be. If she was gonna go in a grocery store, and Miracle got the same one. And I'm gonna put this on the post. They always got to touch something. Every time they walk by, they gotta touch it.
Oh
It
yeah,
ain't
yeah,
even
yeah,
nothing they want, but they just have to put their hands on it. You
yeah,
know what I mean? If they
yeah.
stop somewhere, they just had to reach out and touch something.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. What? And don't think that's a misconception either. They just
Yeah,
trying to figure out they surrounding, what's around them.
yeah. But
We ain't got no eyes no more.
yeah,
Well, we got
so
our eyes. We just our vision.
yeah.
But yeah, that could be funny if you have vision just looking. You know, they just put their hands all in the macaroni to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So once again, I am your host, Gabriel Bruce, and this is your iSight Community Podcast for April 28th, 2023. Until we meet again, God bless y'all and have a blessed day. Thank you, Darren.
You're welcome.